Again. Welcome everyone to the second virtual session of the Southwest Festival of Japan. Today we have Japanese homestyle cooking with Samantha Bottegal. Now it may look like I'm sitting in Japan, but actually I'm here in Bunbury, Western Australia. And to that end, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri Noongar people, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Carol McDowell, and I'm the Senior Officer International Engagement for the City of Bunbury. Now, just a few housekeeping issues today. Samantha would love to take questions along the way. If you could just use your chat function down at the bottom of the screen to ask your questions, and I'll moderate those questions. Actually, if you wouldn't mind now just logging in and saying hello to everyone and just letting us know where you're from, that would be great. This session will be recorded and we'll send out a link to everyone via YouTube after the session, as well as some other information and recipes from Samantha. Now, today it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Samantha Bottegal of Peko Peko. Sam lived in Japan for 10 years, during which time she attended Japanese university and then had her own food importing business promoting Australian produce and working with Japanese chefs in the design and implementation of new products. Upon returning to Australia, Samantha started a Japanese homestyle cooking school, Peko Peko, that has evolved into an iconic chain of Eurasian street-style food eateries. Sam and her partner now employ over 50 people in 3 locations. Her love of Japanese food remains undiminished as she continues to cook and teach others delicious homestyle Japanese food. Samantha, over to you.
Hi everyone, welcome, and I'm so glad that you've come and joined us today for some wonderful homestyle Japanese cooking. So I'm going to do a couple of dishes. I'm going to do a really great rice to start with, or show you how to cook the perfect rice. And then we're going to do a Tataki Tuna with an aroshi dressing, which is made with the daikon and a beautiful yuzu, like a Japanese citrus sauce. If we've got time, if I can get through that on time, I also want to show you a quick dish that I cooked for my 15-year-old daughter with the tuna. She absolutely loves it. That's really easy to whip up as well. So let's get started. So first of all, we're going to use a really good rice. This is a koshi hikari rice, which is a short grain Japanese rice. And I always try and get the really good quality one from the Asian stores. The ones in Coles are okay, but Woolies are okay, but if you can get a really good quality, that's good. I've got a shinmai, which is actually a new rice. It's a new crop and it's always really delicious. So that's what I'm going to use. So the first thing we need to do is wash our rice properly. So we're going to go over to the sink. So the first part of it is the starch and the polishing agents we really want to get rid of. So we just rinse that off. And then we continue to wash a few more times until it goes sort of clearer. Ideally, if you can wash your rice, if you're organised, I'm not that organised, if you're organised and you can wash your rice and let it sit for 30 minutes, that's the best, and in the water. If you wash your rice also and you drain it and put it in a container and leave it overnight, even better. But most of us are not that organised. Now when we wash the rice, we don't want to crush it down and damage the grains. We want to really do it nice and gently. So I normally do, 6 or 7 times, rinsing them, washing them around with my hands, gently rubbing them together. I'll do one more. I'm just going to grab a strainer. Now there's a few different ways we can cook our rice. There's a few different methods, but I've got my favourite right now, which I'm going to show you. So we've rinsed our rice. We pop it into a nice heavy based pot. And in that, one of my secret ingredients is most good Japanese restaurants will show you is a piece of kombu, which is a piece of dried seaweed. They come in sheets. Have I got it here? I've got some here. Sort of comes in sheets like that. You just need to cut off a couple of inches and pop that in with your rice. So I've got 2 cups of rice, and we're going to put in 2 cups of water plus a little bit more. Not a full cup, not even a half a cup, not even a third of a cup. So I'm going to pop in 2 cups of water. And then a little bit more. And if I put my hand in there and you see that the rice comes up to the middle of the back of my hand, that means you have the perfect amount of rice. Perfect amount of water. My apologies. Tea towel. And the tea towel goes around the bottom of the lid. We pop the lid on the pot, wrap that around so we don't burn it. Wrap that around there. And that's how we will cook it. However, at the start, I'll pop it on the, I've got a stove here like that. Should I put it on the other stove? No, I'll put it on here. Let's put it on here. I'm going to pop it on this stove. Oops. Okay, so when it starts to bubble is the point we're going to put the lid back on, the lid with the tea towel. And then we're going to turn the heat down really, really low, and we're going to cook it like that for 20 minutes. We're not going to take the lid off. We're not going to stir it. We're not going to do all the things you'd be really tempted to do. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave the lid on and just cook it on a really, really low heat. So we'll just wait for that to boil for a moment, or not boil, we need some bubbles to come up, and we'll start on our other dish, which is our sauce for our sauce for our Tataki Tuna. So the sauce normally in Japan is made with yuzu, which is a type of Japanese citrus. And it's sort of a mix between mandarin and lemon. And it was originally, I think, from a Chinese mandarin crossed with a Japanese lemon. But it's a delicious fruit. But unfortunately, we don't have any here. You can buy the yuzu in the supermarkets or the Asian supermarkets, but I find they might have a little bit of additives in them. So I prefer to make out my own. So what I'm going to use today is 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. Add that in. About a tablespoon of lemon zest. That one's going to go in. 2 tablespoons of orange juice. Half a cup of soy sauce. Now this is not for this, this is all not for this particular dish. I'm going to keep the rest in my fridge. And also in here we're going to put mirin, which is a Japanese cooking sake, but it's much sweeter. It's quite high in alcohol, it's 14%, but one of the main ingredients in Japanese cooking is mirin, along with the soy sauce, the sake, and a few other key ingredients. But most of Japanese cooking, or most of Japanese recipes, call for mirin. Okay, you can buy that in the supermarket or your Asian shops. So to add that sweetness, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of mirin. 1, 2. And we're also going to add some bonito flakes. This is shaved, dried bonito fish, which is the basis of all, Japanese miso soups. Now, if I make a miso soup, I like to use the bonito stock, the proper bonito stock as a base, and I make my own stock. But nowadays it comes in a packet, which is like granules, it does have bonito. Just while we've got you there, we'll just pop back to the rice. You can see it's boiling, it's starting to boil now. We'll turn it right down to the lowest heat we can. Pop that lid on with the tea towel, and we're going to cook that for 20 minutes. I better put my timer on here. There we go, 20 minutes start. Okay, so back to the bonito flakes. This is really important to have the proper ones. You can use these for the sauce that we're obviously using now. Like I said, the miso soup stock. Also, there's another great dish that I might do one day on my YouTube channel, which is tofu with grated ginger, a little bit of this yuzu sauce, and also the bonito flakes on the top. It's really good. So anyway, we're going to use about a half cup of this. So you can see that's what it's like. We'll pop that in there. That's about it. Mix this around. There we go. And then we're going to pop it in the fridge and we're going to leave it overnight. So sorry, we can't just cook it like that. But I have got the one I made last night here. This is best about 24 hours later. So I've got it sitting overnight in this jar, and I will strain out the bonito in here. Look how luscious that looks. There we go. Now the trick is, don't think that you have to have this sauce just for the tuna dish we're having today. This is a wonderful base for dressings that you can use on your salads and stuff, especially as I know there's a few people in America watching. It's summer there now. If you add a little bit of oil to this, so you've got the basis, the yuzu sauce, a little bit of oil, a little bit of mustard is nice as a nice dressing for your salads. So that's our basic sauce. Now, another part of the dish is we're going to grate some daikon. This is the Chinese radish. So if you're familiar with this and ever wondered how to use it, there's a few ways you can use it. We use it in simmering dishes, but we're also using in the dish today. We're going to grate it and we're going to squeeze out all the juice and put it on top of our tuna. But I'll just show you how we do that. So we're just going to slice that. Get our peeler. Hi, Troy. Troy's home.
One left.
That's my husband. Okay, so just slice your daikon. Okay, grater. Just get another bowl here. And on the smaller grater, we're going to grate the daikon. It's quite easy to grate. Okay, you can see it comes out. Okay, so we'll just move that on, move that daikon across. Now what we do with this is the interesting point. Let me just get another little bowl. We grab our daikon and we squeeze out all of the excess juice, pop it in there.
Hey Sam, I've just got a question here from Julie.
Yep.
She asked, can we get a recipe for this later on via email? I think the answer to that is yes. But
Absolutely.
the other question is, can you use the bonito leftover from the sauce in any way?
Not that bonito, unfortunately. Yeah, no, I mean, you could actually, I do sometimes make a furikake, which is a rice sprinkling, and I pop that, then you could do it with that, you could pop it in a fry pan and dry it out, add a little bit of, a little tiny bit of mirin, cook it in the fry pan, and once it's all dry, you can then add some sesame seeds and use that for a beautiful rice sprinkling, you know, furikake. So you can use that bonito for that, but I'm not sure what else we could use it after all those other flavours have been combined in there. But have a go anyway. Another one we can do one day is the furikake or the rice seasonings. It's really delicious, because the ones we get today in the supermarkets or the Asian shops, again, they're so full of MSG. So what I'm trying to do is actually go back to the roots of home-style Japanese cooking and cooking with real stocks and real food, because over there, as many countries are, it's all about convenience. So if we can just go back, it's much more healthier. Okay, so we've got our daikon. That's all set up there. I'll put these few things away. Now our tuna. Now, the funny thing happened today or last night, I had a fisherman a fish company here in Bunbury who was expecting a wonderful fresh load of tuna just caught in the Indian Ocean, but the truck was 2 hours late. So, sorry, not even 2 hours late, it's more than 4 hours late. So it's not going to be here until 12 o'clock our time, unfortunately. So I do have a backup, which is a really good tuna anyway. It's a great grade, but it has been snap frozen, and this is the ones they use in the Japanese restaurants. So it's still perfectly fine, but I was really expecting that beautiful fresh tuna today. But never mind. What we're going to do is we're going to cook our tuna. Let me just get organised here. I've got 2 pieces because I'm going to do 2 different styles. Okay, so pop your pan on. We don't want to cook it all the way through. We want to cook it quite lightly, so that the outside is cooked and the inside is still lovely and rare. So we'll just heat up our pan. I'm going to pop a little oil in there.
Sam, I just have a question for you.
Sure.
I see you're cooking your rice there. Can you use a rice maker?
Of course, yeah, you can do a rice maker. There's no problem. Exactly the same way. Just make sure you wash your rice properly. If you can get hold of some kombu, put the kombu in. If you can leave it for half an hour, leave it for half an hour. And if you can even still better, leave it overnight, washed in the fridge. You'll get a wonderful rice. But I don't have a rice cooker, so I've got too many gadgets, and I can do it on the stove. And you know, we go to Rottnest Island and all those things on lovely holidays. We can always cook up. If we know how to cook rice in a pot, we can cook it anywhere. Yeah. We don't have to rely on our rice cookers.
Or you could travel with your rice cooker like me.
You could do that. You could do that. It's very rare to find a Japanese person without a rice cooker. Okay. So we might do the bigger one. I've got this piece of tuna here, which is a good grade tuna. Oops, sorry, good grade tuna. And it's been cut to the perfect length and width. So I'm just going to pop that in. So make sure you heat your pan up properly. We don't want to overcook it and we don't want to undercook it. So I sort of think about a minute on each side is probably the best way to go. But so that our tuna cools down quickly, I'm going to also prepare some ice water next to me so I can plunge it into that and cool it down even more before it cooks after we take it out of the fry pan. That's about a minute on that side. Oh, you can see it's lovely and getting a bit of colour there. You can actually probably do this with a piece of salmon as well. Have Tataki salmon, put it on the outside, have it lovely and rare in the middle, and this sauce would definitely go with that as well. So you can try that. Kingfish is also another one that this sauce will go really well with. And also beef. If you can get a piece of fillet beef and do exactly the same thing as I'm doing here, you don't have to put the fillet beef maybe in the cold water, or you can, but you don't have to. You can season the fillet beef, cook it so it's not cooked, so it's quite rare in the middle, or sort of doesn't have to be raw, but sort of rare in the middle. And use that yuzu sauce on that beef. It is so yum. So then I get the sides also. So we want to cook the sides as well. So we've got some colour on the side. This is the tuna that you'll find in most sushi as well. The Japanese restaurants use this tuna for the sushi. It's too hard to get the fresh tuna. And also it's very, very expensive. When we can get it, we use it.
Hey Sam, what maybe you said this already. What's the oil you're using there?
I'm just using an olive oil here, an organic olive oil. Once I wash it, it'll take any sort of olive oil taste away anyway.
Oh, okay.
So it's fine. But I don't use canola oil, or I don't use those types of oil. I try and use a good organic oil, or a good, an organic vegetable oil if I can get it. Japanese cooking doesn't really use, they just normally use vegetable oil or sesame oil. I just want to get the ends done here as well. Okay, so I think that's probably right. We turn that off. We pop it in the cold water. And then we take that out and we just pat it dry. Some Japanese cooking do some really different techniques. I have a Japanese homestyle recipe called kuiyaki chicken, that once we're cooking the chicken, we've cooked it and it's all golden brown, we pour boiling water in it and then we tip that off. So there's a few little different tricks and techniques to some of the Japanese dishes.
Great, Sam. We've just had a few people join us, and I just want to remind them, please use the chat function to ask any questions you have, and I'll relay those to Sam. We've just had someone join us from California, so that's exciting.
Yay.
On the other side of the world. Hello from Australia.
Awesome. Hello from Australia. I might not look Japanese, but I have got quite a lot of experience in Japan and with Japanese cooking. Do you know, I didn't tell, you didn't put this in the introduction, but I was actually a Japanese housewife. And I was part of a very, very traditional Japanese home and family. So my mother-in-law would teach me how to do some homestyle Japanese cooking. My ex-husband's uncle and family taught me lots and lots of tricks, and also people that I lived with in Japan. So I have that side of the traditional way as well. But me being so strong-willed, I couldn't really be a Japanese housewife forever. So I'm back here. Okay, so we're going to slice our tuna now. I've got this wonderful Japanese knife my husband and I bought on our last trip to Japan, and I'm going to slice it into Just lovely pieces like this. About 1 centimetre. Doesn't that? Going halfway through, just make sure you give your white knife a little bit of a white. With that much. Yeah.
That looks amazing, Sam. Do you have any recommendations for knives? I know that knives are really important in the kitchen. That one looks really sharp.
Yeah, this is one we got on our last trip to Japan. I got in trouble because I left it out a little bit and I'll have to wash it and dry it soon. That's a sashimi knife. That's probably worth maybe $300, I guess. But these are the knives that you can get from the Asian shops as well. We use this in our restaurants. These are probably only maybe $40 or $50, but you can get them from the Asian stores. Or if you find a good like an Asian wholesaler, they normally stock these. I don't use really any Western knives because these ones are so good. I'm just going to wipe this, otherwise I'm going to get in trouble. Wipe it and dry it. Put it back in its little box. Okay, so our tuna goes on our little plate like this. This is a really good way to impress your friends. And if you don't, like I said, if you don't have the tuna, use the beef. Okay. Right, so we've got it all lined up like that. That's our presentation. Then we get our daikon and we put the daikon up the middle like this. Okay. Because each time you pick up a piece of tuna, you're going to pick up a piece of daikon and the dressing, which makes it so yum. Now, one little trick in the sauce, I'm not going to put it in the big one because I'm going to use that for other things as well, but I'll just rinse this little dish here. And we will put some of that sauce in this dish. Let's have a look. That should be enough. Can use that for other things. And in that sauce, one of the special ingredients, if you can get a Japanese mustard, it's better, but I've got a good quality mustard, Coleman's mustard. I'm just going to mix that in to the dressing. And if you want to get serious about your Japanese cooking, you really need to buy some cooking chopsticks like I'm using right now. Okay, so there you go.
Where can you buy those, Sam? Are those any Asian food shop? And what's different about?
Yeah, you buy them at the Asian food stores. They're so handy, and after you get used to them, you actually can't go back to using a fork. So if I was going to dress this or set this up, I'd use my chopsticks. So if I'm cooking something, if I'm cooking maybe the next piece of tuna, I'll show you how to use the chopsticks in the front. Right, then we've got some spring onion, which is actually out of our garden. We're going to put the spring onion over the top like this. So you could prepare this dish like this, put some wrap on it, and then leave it for when your guests arrive or whatever. Then we've got our sauce, and we just pour our sauce over our dish like this. So yum. So that is our Tataki tuna with our oroshi dressing, yuzu oroshi dressing. which we can have a little taste later with our rice. Now, so I'll just pop that there. Oops, there's our rice. Okay, so I've turned off the rice now. However, I'm not going to take the lid off straight away. We want to keep it on the lid on there for another 10 minutes and just let the rice settle. And then we'll use our paddle, we'll fluff it up and it will be perfect, okay? How are we going for time? We're okay for time?
Halfway.
Yep. All right. So I'm just going to make another quick dish here. Let me get my fry pan. Oh, I'm making a bit of a mix, aren't I? This is another really quick, wonderful dish. Would you believe that my youngest daughter does not like fish? And this is the only fish she will eat. So that's very interesting. She will eat raw Tataki tuna or half-cooked Tataki tuna, but no other fish. So I'm just going to slice up some onion into slices, not chop it, but just into slices. Okay. Turn our fry pan on. Add a little bit of oil. And we'll start cooking that garlic. And we want it to be nice and crispy or nice and golden brown. So we'll just let that cook for a little bit. Our tuna. Place it on the chopping board. Season it, both sides, salt and pepper. This is like one of my go-to dishes if I can't be bothered cooking a lot. Got the rice. You can also freeze your rice after you've cooked it. You can freeze it. Just put it in a container, or you can use a Glad wrap, but lately I've sort of had my doubts about wrapping things in Glad wrap. But if you could wrap it in Glad wrap, I would prefer to do it in a container though. Freeze it and then defrost it and just pop it in the microwave for a minute, and you've got that beautiful fluffy rice will be fine. So we'll just cook that up. Okay, so in here we pop our our tuna in and cook it in the garlic. The same way as we cooked our other tuna, but this tuna we're not going to put in the water. We're just going to keep it nice and seasoned like that. So again, it's going to be about a minute on either side. And that beautiful garlic. This is also a local garlic from Bunbury. Turn it over there. Oh, look at that, yum. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Skidgy Market. Have you been to Skidgy Market, Carol?
Sydney Fish Market.
the Tsukiji market in Tokyo.
Sorry, I haven't been there, but haven't they moved?
I think they've moved. I think there's something going on where they want to keep it there now. But I don't actually think they've moved out. I think they're keeping it there now because of well, they were because of the tourists. But it's so amazing to go and see the auctions in the morning and the size of the tuna that comes in and how the craftsmanship around slicing the tuna is unbelievable. So once we all start travelling again, if you can get to the Tsukiji market, it's really worthwhile. Okay, so I'm just going to do the sides now. And the other side. And the garlic is really starting to crisp up. Now you can take that out and just let it sit. Just let that sit for a couple of minutes. Now, in our fry pan, we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of soy sauce and a tablespoon of vinegar and a big dob of, no, maybe not that much, a big dob of butter. And then we'll just pop our tuna back in there. Just cover it a little bit with that.
Sam, I'm surprised to see butter there. I use butter a lot. I think butter makes everything taste better. Is that unusual in Japanese cooking to be using butter?
They do use butter, but not for traditional cooking.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've got lots of, yeah, I mean, yeah, they do use butter, but not like us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in these sort of dishes. Now, what I'll do with that is I'll slice the tuna up, I'll put it on a bed of rice and I'll pour the sauce over it. It is so delicious. So, here's our rice. I've got my rice towel. So we've got this rice that looks so fluffy and delicious. See, it hasn't stuck to the bottom. It's just wonderful. Look at that. And moist and yummy. Okay. So let's put together this dish that everybody will love. I'll put this one first. We'll put some rice in the bowl. Like that. Good. Then we'll slice our tuna. I'll just use this knife now. Look, see how beautiful that is. And it's got the flavour on the outside. Okay. We line that up on top of the rice. That one. Now you can dress the plate a little bit more with some, I sometimes put in some avocado or some sliced cucumber, some sort of vegetable in there as well. But today I've actually made, where is it? A quick pickled daikon and carrot salad, which I'll pop on here. Okay, and I'll pop some cut seaweed on the top, like that. And then heat up our sauce again. I'm so excited, I could eat that right now.
Sam, I just have a question about that seaweed you were using. Is that, I can't see from here, is that nori? Is it dried seaweed or fresh?
That is dried seaweed, the nori, and I often cut it up into small pieces and like with scissors, and then sprinkle it on top of the rice or on top of dishes for garnish. But if you find that you've got it in the cupboard and it's gone a little bit stale, all you do is get a flame on your gas stove and like sort of over the flame, just do this a couple of times and it will all go lovely and crunchy again.
Oh, that's good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got this sauce that I've made with the soy sauce, the butter, the vinegar and the garlic. Put that on there. I might need my chopsticks, just a moment. Put the garlic on there as well. And voila, it's delicious tuna with garlic, soy sauce, vinegar and butter. So there you go. That's the two dishes that we've done today. The easy one with the garlic, soy sauce, vinegar, butter and tuna. And this is the Tataki Tuna dish. So we can have a rice. And I'll put a little bit of nori on there. And I'll just grab some chopsticks. I'll take one of these and have it with my rice. Like that. Yum. That's good.
That looks amazing, Sam. It also looks really very healthy.
So good. Now all we need is a nice bowl of miso soup. So that concludes our cooking class. Excuse my mouthful. That includes our cooking class for today. So thank you so much for joining and thanks for having us, Carol. We'll see you on Saturday at the Japanese Festival.
Yes.
And we can upload these videos to YouTube. I will also do a recipe that people can access. And yeah, if anybody else wants to join our YouTube videos and follow us on our journey with Japanese homestyle cooking, please do.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Sam. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We've actually had people from all over the world, Canada, America, Singapore. So thanks everyone for tuning in to little old Bunbury in Western Australia. We have 3 more virtual sessions coming up this week. If you'd like to log into those, please do. Tomorrow we have Patsy Smith from the Tiny Tea Shop in Nanup talking about Japanese teas. We have on Thursday a haiku workshop with Professor Vari McKenzie, which will be a highly interactive workshop where you can practice the art of haiku. And on Friday, we have Wabi Sabi and the Wonder of the Everyday with Will Yeoman from the West Australian. He'll be talking about travel writing and travel photography and how to incorporate Japanese aesthetics into your writing and photography. And of course, if you are able, sadly, if you're not in Western Australia, you won't be able, but if you are able to come down to our actual festival here in Bunbury on Saturday, the Southwest Festival of Japan continues at the Sterling Street Art Center from 10 to 2. There will be Japanese food, including some beautiful sushi from Peko Peko with Samantha there. We'll have taiko drumming, martial arts, kites, stall holders, and much, much more. So thank you everyone for coming, and see you next time.